Hello and thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Binga Oreshegun. Today on the program, House of Representatives softens stance on tax reform bills. And later on the show, we will bring you an exclusive interview with Reverend Dr. Job Bagash Malam, President of the Evangelical Church, winning all Equa worldwide, as he speaks on religion, politics, and nation building. I'll be hanging out with Kayode Ladendi. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. The House of Representatives has eased its position on the tax reform bills. The bills successfully passed second reading after a 4-hour debate and are now slated for public hearings. This development contrasts with the initial resistance encountered when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu introduced the bills in October. At that time, significant opposition led to a temporary suspension of the bills to allow for further consultations. The proposed legislation includes the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, the Nigerian Tax Bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Bill, which have been consolidated for streamlined debate. All right, Kayode, it's so good to just myself, having to be on the show. But kudos to the president, for not giving in to the pressure of withdrawing this bill. Now, are you surprised that the House of Representatives softened their stance about this bill? I mean, scaling the second reading and passing for public hearing.
So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because we already got that hint when the governors actually came out to say that they were in sync with some bit of amendments, so to say. And it is expected that during the public hearing and some other legislative process, all these things will be fine-tuned. Having said that, it's just to say that it's the big lesson is we should bear in mind that when you are a leader, it's not at every point in time everybody see what you're seeing. As much as it's a democratic dispensation where the majority should rule, but if you are in the minority and you have a convincing opinion that will be for the overall benefit of all, you should be able to take a good stand. And I think that's what the president has done. Because people would have concluded that, oh, the president is going to throw away that bill or he's going to step it down when governors, the almighty governors met with the vice president. So it wasn't just the governors that met. They met with the vice president. And the resolution of that meeting is that this should be reviewed. And this should be dropped. That was the resolution at that time. So for so many of us who have been following that committee, we were really disappointed. But the president didn't disappoint us by saying, hey, it has come to stay.
Exactly.
Take it to the public hearing. Let Nigerians debate. What is expected of the public hearing, we cannot anticipate. But I foresee a situation where real professionals will also be invited. They should be invited because if you look at what the bill seeks to achieve, there's going to be a better conducive environment for business men and women. So, but for the politicians who probably wants to continue having a feeding bottle kind of federation, federalism, those are the people that we have issues with. And as much as some of us are not too impressed with the way they tinker with the bill, but the president seems to be on the same page that it's not a bad negotiation at the end of the day.
Now, for many of our viewers, this bill went through the first reading, the second reading, talk about the general reading of the proposed legislation being debated. Now, it's going to be subjected to a public hearing, and from there to the relevant committees, then brought back to the floor for further debate. And after that, there will be clause-by-clause reading and further scrutiny before it is passed. But it's also very, very important for us to know that there must be a concurrence, by the Red Chamber, which is the Senate. But what is in this bill that we saw so many opinions divided along ethnic lines?
Sadly, the ethnic lines came up when it has to do with derivation, when it has to do with how much are we going to be getting, and the fact that what you do not consume, you cannot be part, you know, of what is accrued from such a product. That was the point of divergence for many people. But, you know, they try to cover it up by saying the bill should be dropped. At least it's not out of place to come up with your argument to say that this is not good enough, depending on your interest. And it will be argued. You know, why we are seeing this kind of accelerated hearing is because as much as the legislators would tell us that they are independent, they're on their own, we know that the governors wield a lot of influence
exactly
on them, and some of them, you know, in some cases, the governors even bought the nomination forms for them.
That was allegedly, though.
Okay. Let me put it that way. Allegedly, because I should expect that you should be able to. But for the first timer, some of them, the forms were bought for them.
Still allegedly.
However, that's noted. But however, I think that it's about give and take. Politicians are good at that.
Give and take. It's all about interest.
Politicians are good at that. They've looked at it. They've looked at the pros, and they've discovered that it outweighs the cons. And the challenge remains, which some of us are not too happy with. The challenge remains that the presidents have pedaled a bit for some clauses.
To be, exactly.
You know, but because we expect that this is a wake-up call for state to be more innovative, for state to think about how they will, you know, be making more revenues for themselves
instead of
not the status quo.
Exactly. You know, the fact allocation.
I sincerely believe that that has not been totally tampered with. We are going to see a whole lot of that coming forth. And kudos to the tax committee led by Taiwo. They've done a great job. And I think it's what I do not even foresee this thing taking a long time before it gets passed.
All right, Kaide, we need to go on this quick break. And when we return, journalists hang out. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere.